Okay, class, a very good afternoon to all of you. Today we are going to do numericals based on the break-even analysis of our topic of the first unit. So break-even analysis, as we all know, is a point that is very mandatory for each and of every operation of economic studies. Whenever we talk about economic studies, we need to know about the break-even analysis. But first of all, we would like to know that what do you mean by break-even analysis? Break-even analysis means it is a point. It is a point on the graph of the break even, or it is known as a break even point also. It is a break even point, that is when the company owner is at a least risk. At this point the company owner is at least risk. It means that at this point of break even point, the company can neither get a profit nor get a loss. So it is that point of edge of the company where there is a no profit and no loss strategies going on. So this at this point of break even point, we can say this thing that the owner of the company is at the least risk of getting a loss, because if he's not earning any profit, he's not earning any loss also. This is the least risk point for any owner of the company. So let's start with the first numerical of break-even analysis. Just write down the statement of break-even analysis, first numerical first. An Indian company, just write down the statement. An Indian company has its existing product base. An Indian company has its existing product base decided to launch a new product decided to launch a new product at rupees 6500 decided to launch a new product at rupees 6500 per unit, at rupees 6500 per unit. Okay, so what is the basically what is the product price, that is 6500 per unit. If the fixed cost is rupees, if the fixed cost is rupees 8 lakh 20,000, if the fixed cost is rupees 8 lakh 20,000, and the variable cost per unit, and the variable cost per unit is 2400, determine the break even point, determine the break even point, the contribution, the contribution, the volume needed to generate a profit. The third point is the volume needed to generate a profit of rupees 10 lakh 25,000, of rupees 10 lakh 25,000. So what we need to calculate over here is we need to calculate a break-even point. Firstly, we are given with a fixed cost, we are given with a variable cost, okay, and we are given with a contribution also, we need to find it over here. And lastly, we need to calculate the volume needed to generate a profit. How much is the volume needed to generate a profit of rupees 10 lakh 25,000. Okay, so first of all, we need to calculate the break-even point over here. So break-even point, as we all know, is given by, it is given by your fixed cost by P minus variable cost, where P is what? P is what? P is your selling price. P is your selling price. Now we know the fixed cost. Fixed cost is 8 lakh 20,000. Put the value of fixed cost. Selling price is, how much is selling price that has been fixed? Selling price is given as how much? It is 6500. It is 6500 per unit, isn't it? So 6500 per unit minus variable cost is 2400 per unit. Now we need to calculate it. 8 lakh 20,000 by 6500 minus 2400. that will come out to be near about 200 units. So that is your break-even point for the, we have calculated the break-even point for 200 units. That means this is the unit, these are the 200 units for which we are neither getting any profit nor we getting any loss. We are the least risk of 200 units. Okay, this is the first section. Then is your contribution. Contribution is given by what? Contribution. This was your first part. Second part is your contribution. Now contribution is given by, what was the formula for contribution? It was, formula was selling price minus the variable cost. If we need to know selling price and we have the value of variable cost also, then we can easily calculate the value of your contribution. The selling price minus the variable cost is your contribution part. Now what is selling price over here? It is 6,500 minus variable cost is 2,400. So that means 6,500 minus 2,400 is what? It is equal to 4,100. That is your contribution over here is 4,100. Okay. Now what is the third part? What is the volume needed to generate a profit of rupees 10,25,000? So we need to know the volume, that what is the actually needed, what is the profit that can be earned. And isn't it, the volume need to generate a profit of rupees? What is exact amount of volume that we need to generate in order to generate a profit of 10,25,000? So we need to calculate the volume of the product that we need to manufacture so that we can get an appreciable amount of profit of 10,25,000. Okay, so let's calculate it first. Fixed cost was what? It was equal to 8,20,000 plus what is your profit? Profit is 10,25,000, isn't it? So we'll add the profit of fixed cost upon selling price minus variable cost. Selling price is what? It is 6,500 minus variable cost is what? It is 2,400. Okay. So what is your value now? It is 450 units. It is about 450 units. Now we need to calculate the value of the volume that need to be generated to get what? To get the amount of profit of around 10,25,000. Now that profit can be easily earned if we have the value of your previous break-even point. The previous break-even point, now it is your break-even point for 450 units for with a profit of 10,25,000. Okay. Now we need to know the volume that can be generated. It can be easily generated using this profit. So it will come out from the formula. The volume needed to generate a profit of 10,25,000 is what? It is equal to 450 minus 200. 200 was the break-even point that was calculated without a profit factor of 10,25,000. It would come out to be near about 250 units. So 250 units is basically the units that we need to generate without any risk. And we can earn a profit of around 10,25,000 by minimally attaining the unit factor of 250 units. So if you are attaining 250 units, we can easily attain your break-even. So this was your first numerical that was related to your break-even point analysis. Then next is your next statement. You can write it down, the next statement. The next statement is a company launches. Just write down the next statement. A company launches two products. A company launches two products X and Y, a company launches two products X and Y with a fixed and variable cost. With a fixed and variable cost. Now, what is your fixed cost and what is your variable cost? That we need to know over here first. So just make a small table with the value of fixed cost and variable cost and the product. The two products are what? The two products are X and Y. So X and Y are the two products which are being launched by a company, and the fixed cost of the first product, that is X, is rupees with approximately 2 lakhs. It is 2 lakhs.
हेलो सर.
जी बेटा.
सर क्वेश्चन एक बार फिर से रिपीट कर दीजिएगा.
A company launches two products X and Y with a fixed and variable cost. The product X has a fixed cost of 2 lakhs and product Y has a product of fixed cost of 1 lakh. Variable cost is rupees 120 per unit and rupees 220 per unit. At what production quantity the total cost of these products are equal? At what production quantity the total cost of these products are equal? So we need to know the production quantity at which the total cost of both the products becomes equal. That we need to know in this very example. That means the total cost of X is equal to total cost of Y. Isn't it? That means total cost of X is what? It is equal to fixed cost of X plus the variable cost of X into your Q. Q is a break-even point. Similarly, the fixed cost for Y plus the variable cost for Y into Q. Q is a break-even point. Now we are known with what? We are known with the fixed cost. We are known with the variable cost of both X and Y. The fixed cost and variable cost of both X and Y products is known to us. So can you fill the values of X and Y fixed and variable cost over here? Yes, we have 2 lakh, which is a fixed cost of product X. Then variable cost is rupees 120 into Q is equal to fixed cost of Y is 1 lakh plus the variable cost of Y, it is 220 into Q. Okay. Now just calculate it. Just calculate it. Just calculate it in a simple way. 220 minus 120 into Q is equal to rupees 1 lakh. Isn't it? Therefore, Q will be equal to what? Q will be equal to how much? 1000 units. So there is a need of 1000 units basically, at which the product price of X and Y will be equal. If we make both of these values as equal, values of product cost of X and total cost of Y are made equal, and we need to know the quantity actually. We need to know the quantity at which it becomes equal. So for this much quantity, that is for 1000 units, if we calculate the value of 1000 units over here, then both of these x and y cost becomes equal for both the cases. So that was your third numerical in this case. Second numerical in this case. Then we move on towards the third numerical. Just write down the statement of third numerical. A firm has a firm FIRM. A firm has a annual fixed cost. A firm has an annual fixed cost of rupees 32 lakhs. A firm has an annual fixed cost of rupees 32 lakhs and a variable cost of rupees 350 per unit. And a variable cost of rupees 350 per unit. It is considering an additional investment. It is considering an additional investment of rupees 8 lakhs. It is considering an additional investment of rupees 8 lakhs, which will increase the fixed cost by rupees 15 lakhs. Which will increase the fixed cost by rupees 15 lakhs per year. 15 lakhs per year, and will increase the contribution by rupees 100 per unit, and will increase the contribution by rupees 100 per unit. Full stop. If there is no change in the sales price, if there is no change in the sales price of rupees 750, per unit, 750 per unit, what is the break-even quantity? What is the break-even quantity if the new investment is made? What is the break-even quantity if the new investment is made? Okay. Now, what is the decrease in the variable cost that is given to us? What is the amount of decrease in the variable cost that we need to know first? How much was the variable cost? It was 350 initially, and then it was decreased to rupees 100. Contribution was taken as 100 over there. So that means it decreased the variable cost, isn't it? So we need to find out the decrease in variable cost first. What is the decrease in variable cost? Decrease in the variable cost is given by rupees 350 minus rupees 100. Now this decrease in variable cost was made for what reason? It was made in order to increase the contribution. So in order to enhance your contribution, the selling price was decreased, or decreased the variable cost was made. So what is the value of decrease in variable cost over here now? It is equal to rupees 250. So decrease the variable cost in order to enhance the contribution is rupees 250 per unit. Okay. Now increase in the fixed cost is how much is given as increase in fixed cost? What is the increase in fixed cost given to us? Increase in fixed cost is given by rupees 32 lakhs plus how much was the increase made? Rupees 15 lakhs plus rupees 15 lakh was the increase that was made in the fixed cost. So it will come out to be near about 47 lakhs. Now we need to calculate the break-even point. Calculate the break-even point for this value now. Break-even point is given by fixed cost by your selling price minus the variable cost, isn't it? Now fixed cost is it is equal to 47 lakhs upon what is your selling price? Selling price is rupees 750. It is given to us minus the variable cost is how much was the decrease in variable cost? It is equal to 250. So just calculate it. What is your break-even point over here now? Break-even point is 47 lakhs by 750 minus 250. It is near about 9400 units. So break-even point is, it is near about 9400 units. So if you are producing 9400 units, then actually we can have a compensation to all the increase in fixed cost or the decrease in variable cost in order to meet the contribution value. So this is the actual amount of your break-even point on 9400 units. If they are produced, then we can actually compensate with all the compensating values of your increase or decrease in the fixed and variable cost. So that is all about your numericals for your break-even point. If you face any difficulty in them, you can ask your queries at any moment. Okay. Next topic of our today's lecture is effect of taxation on the economic studies. Now, what is the effect of taxation on the economic studies? Now, that is a very vast topic, basically. Why we need to pay the tax? That is a question that comes in each and every mind of ours, that why we need to pay. And what is the effect of this taxation on the economic effect of the country or the economic studies? When we talk about the economic strategy of our country, we need to know that what is the value or what is the effect of paying a tax to the economic study. Yes, of course, while we are paying the tax, we are raising the economy of the country. Now, how it is raised? Because we are basically each and every employee who is doing any job, either he's doing a private job or he's doing a government job, but any employee who is earning more than 2,50,000 per annum, who is earning more than 2,50,000 is entitled to pay a tax. Okay, so but that tax payment mode is different for different strategies. Like it is 5% slab, 10%, 7% slab, then we have a 10% slab, depending upon the rise of income. As our income is rising, you have to pay more and more tax. Now that tax is basically taken by the government in lieu of your job, in lieu of your income which you are earning. If your income is below 2,50,000 per annum, then you're not entitled to pay any tax. But if your income is above 2,50,000 per annum, then you are entitled to pay a tax. But for that also we have a condition that if you make a saving of rupees 1,50,000, in a year, through many of your PPF account or your Sunya Smridhi's account, which is entitled for this payment for this tax exemption. Then we have the FDRs in banks, which are or post office, or the PPF account in post office. So these are some of the strategies which are these are list of certain accounts through which if you are saving your money of rupees maximum of rupees 1,50,000, and if your slab is coming in between them, suppose you have an income above 2,50,000 and you are saving your money by 1,50,000 per year. That means it is 2,50,000 plus 1,50,000 is it is near about 4 lakhs. That means up till 4 lakhs you are not entitled to pay any tax. Then we have a standard deduction also. So this are certain values below which you have to pay a tax, and if you're rising above it, then you have to pay the tax. So that is, this is a government strategy that you have to pay a tax above that certain rate of income. So first one is we need to raise the fund of the country. We need to raise the fund because that tax which is being calculated or which is being collected by the government from various departments of the job seeking people, that is being used as a government fund. That is government fund, and that is used for many things. That can be used for manufacturing of your roads, construction of roads, bridges, or any of the country development. Development of country is done by using those funds which are generated using the tax. So tax is basically a good thing, but that is being utilized for own benefit only. Then is your calamity funds. Calamity funds means that sometimes we have a certain pandemic situations like right now we are facing. Right now we are facing a pandemic situation of COVID-19. So many of the people have lost their loved ones for family members. So they are getting compensation by government. So that compensation money, where it is coming from? It is coming from the government fund only. And the government fund is nothing. It is fund that is being generated by the people paying tax. So people who are paying tax, they are generating the fund out of them, and that is used in the pandemic situations. Then rest, we are getting the vaccination done. The COVID-19 vaccination was very important. So that was being done for each and every individual, isn't it? Now that is the government is providing vaccination free of cost to each and every individual of the country. Now how this is possible? This was only possible because government was having certain amount of funds with them through which they are helping the common people of country to overcome this pandemic situation. Okay. The third one is your income tax. Income tax is what we are paying. Actually, what we are paying. And who is paying the income tax? An employee is paying. The employer is also paying to some extent. Okay. But an employee has to pay an income tax. Whenever I'm doing some job, I have to pay a tax. So that is the 3 points which are basically raising the effect of your income tax and raising of taxation on the economic studies of our factor, or that is raising the fund factor of our country. Okay, the next topic of our today's lecture is the cost estimation and cost accounting. Now, first of all, we need to know that what is cost estimation, what is cost accounting. Okay, the cost estimation is, as the word suggests, it suggests as what? It suggests as that estimated cost, that this is the approximate estimated cost for this product. Suppose I have to manufacture something and I am trying to make an estimate. We make a budget and estimate first. Na? If we have to make any function at a home also, we make a budget first, that this is the amount of money that we're going to spend upon the crockery items. This is the amount of money that we're spending upon the decoration. This is the amount of money that we're going to spend upon the this gifts and all. So this will make a cost estimation that cost approximately, if I'm arranging a function of 100 people, then we need to make the invitation for 100 people. We need to bring the gifts for 100 people, and we need to make their food items available, the all that, whatever the catering business is there, we need to spend this much on catering of 100 people. Then we need to make a decorations also, lighting system, decoration system. So we make the estimation for each and every step first, that this is the amount of estimation that we're going to put our money on lightning, this is the amount of money we're going to spend on gifts of the people who are coming to our function, this amount of money we're going to spend upon the this catering business or catering people. So we make the total estimate for each and every bifurcated item, and then we make a total estimated cost, that this function of 100 people will cost me approximately rupees 2 lakhs. Suppose it is 2 lakhs. Let us suppose something. It is 2 lakhs. So this is the cost estimation for 2 lakh is for the 100 people. Okay, we are estimating the 100 people cost is 2 lakhs. Now, what is the actual cost that will be known later when the function once happens. But we need to make a budget first, that maximum to maximum we can pay, we can get a expense of rupees 2 lakhs. It can be more than 2 lakh also, it can be less than 2 lakh also, but approximately it will be near to 2 lakh. This is the approximate price. So this is your definition. This is the only definition of this cost estimation. It is used to find the accurate cost. We can't say this is the accurate cost, but it is used to find the accurate cost. These which we just make the steps to reach to accuracy. This is not the accurate cost that we are reaching, but we are choosing the step by step we are moving towards to reach the accuracy level or the accurate level. That is your cost estimation. Then cost accounting is what? Cost accounting is actually to find out the cost of product for the selling price of, to fix the, or to basically to fix the selling price of product. If I'm manufacturing certain items at my factory and I need to fix the selling price of my product, then how could I fix my selling price of my product? I need to know the cost of the product first. I need to know the cost of my products first. If that cost of a product is known to me, then only I can say that this is my selling price of my products. Isn't it? So we need to to find the cost of product first. We need to account. We need to have the accurate level of cost of the product first. And then we can say that this is the amount of your cost that we can fix for a selling item. Because before making a selling price fixed for any item, we need to know many factors. There are so many factors behind which we need to know before making any of the settlements for your cost estimation or cost accounting. So we need to know those values. Okay, so that is what is your cost estimation and cost accounting. Okay, so cost estimation and cost accounting, basically the major difference lies over here is that what is the basic need of this, kind of a cost accounting factor, what is the need for cost estimation? Because if we make an estimation first, then only we can say that this is the cost estimation and this is the amount of cost that we are going to put on the cost accounting section. This is the amount of cost we're going to put on your accounting section. So before making the account section clear, we need to make the estimation first. So estimation is more important than your accounting. If your estimations are right, then obviously your accounting also section goes on right way. So the next topic of our today's lecture is your estimation of material cost. Before starting with this topic of estimation of material cost, I would like to know that what do you mean by the material cost first? Material cost is the cost which is earned for the material that is used for the manufacturing of the final product. It can be any product. It can be any product. The material, the raw material which is being used for manufacturing of that final product is known as your material cost. Now we can take example of the clothes, in this case the cloth or the garment industry in this case, that we have our raw material. we are purchasing the long length of raw material for that manufacturing of those garments. Suppose these are the garments of kids. It can be any garments. Okay. Now that raw material, what is the actual cost that is being paid by the owner of the company for manufacturing of that product? That is your material cost. Now material cost is further categorized into two strategies. One is your direct material cost and one is your indirect material cost. One is your direct material cost and one is your indirect material cost. Now, what is your direct material cost? Direct material cost is one that is directly involved with the material. That is, suppose we are manufacturing the garments. That means the raw material is your cloth, the actual cloth which you are using. That is your what? That is your direct material cost. That is a cloth for your garment industry. So that comes under your direct material cost. Any other example for this? We can take any example also. Suppose we are making the mobile phones. For mobile phones, what is the major material cost that is required for manufacturing mobile phones? We need to have the circuitry components, like we have the transistors, we have the amplifiers, the antennas, microstrip antennas. So all those materials, the outer body covering, the glass covering, all those materials which are actually involved in the manufacturing process. So this direct material cost is the cost which is being bared and which is involved with the actual manufacturing of product. Actual manufacturing of product. So whenever I talk about any product which can be seen on that product also, if I say that I am purchasing XYZ things for the manufacturing of this product, now those XYZ things can be seen on that product also. That is your actual direct material cost. Okay. Similarly, the indirect material cost is the one which is not involved directly. Which is not involved directly. Now, there are some indirect costs also which are not seen on the product, but they are actually involving or they're actually coming in the category of your material cost. Now, what are those costs? What kind of costs come under this category? They can be the labor cost, okay, the sewing cost. If we are making the products like garments, then we are using sewing machines, we are using those threads for designing purpose. They can't be seen, but they're actually used for your manufacturing process. And transportation purpose, the propaganda of that product, the advertisement of that product. So all these factors, electricity used for the manufacturing of that product. Okay, the overnight shifts that were being used for manufacturing of product, early manufacturing of a product, they all are coming under category of your indirect material cost. They all are coming under category of your indirect material cost. So this is which are not involved directly. These things are actually the things which are not involved directly, but they are actually being used for the manufacturing process. They are actually being used in many of the manufacturing processes. So they are directly involved with it also. Okay, so this is the category for your indirect material cost.